There are currently 8 young Essendon Bombers on our list that have not played an AFL game of footy, but that could soon change as our young team heads into a brand new season. So who are these gameless rookies and when could they feature? A player that feels like he has been on our list forever is Irish recruit Cian McBride, who is getting one last chance at AFL level after being granted permission to extend his stay on the list as a Category B rookie thanks to an AFL exemption. He was brought into the hangar in 2019 and now at 22 years old, very soon to be 23, he is hitting his stride physically, but still looks a long way off actually being ready for the big time. He hasn't exactly shown enough at VFL level in his 4 years at the club. I think it's more likely we see this defender's time come up at the conclusion of the season, rather than etch a few more digits into that game column. The second and last of the recruits not picked up at last year's draft, Patrick Voss, has been on our list. Well, it's his second year on our list, and we only really saw the key forward late into the VFL campaign last year. He played 11 games and kicked 19 goals. He was also one of 4 players in this video to play in the practice match against Gold Coast and was named an emergency for the preseason outing against St Kilda. Patrick Voss will probably play this season, especially if Jones struggles for form. He is a very different type of forward to Jones. He is more of a Jonathan Brown, crashing pack type operator. His impact isn't through goals, it's through effort, and that is something that could be pretty handy against some of the tougher opponents. I think he needs to string some more good VFL form together paired with Jones or other forward struggles, and we see him play. A name us fans would have been hoping to see early on was Elijah Tsatas, our prized top 5 draft pick from last year's draft, but the midfielder unfortunately suffered a nasty meniscus tear, which is going to keep him out of action until very late into the year. I don't know if he is definitely going to play this year. The club is going to be very conservative with their approach to his recovery, and although he was supposedly training the house down until the setback, he is not a required member of the team at this moment. If we see Tsatas play, it will be in the last few rounds and he will be a long way off his best. The guy pretty much missed his first pre-season and has been on crutches or limited training during the season, so we can mark this as a gap year for the prolific ball winner. On to our second round picked key defender, Lewis Hayes, who fans don't seem to know too much about it seems. He is more of a project player than anything, so I doubt we really see much of him, if anything, in the AFL this year. He is a lanky, rangy interceptor. He uses his size really well, or at least he did in the juniors, but he will struggle now against bigger bodies. I don't see how he makes his way to the first team. It's always hard for key defensive outlets to make a stamp in the VFL in their first or second season, especially ones without meat on bones, and that is Hayes. He is obviously promising, he is very highly rated, but he most likely won't be playing much senior footy, if any, this season. A player we are 100% seeing very early on is Alwyn Davey Jr. He has been fantastic this pre-season. He lit up in the pracky match against Gold Coast and kicked a nice goal against the Saints in the official outing. He has done enough to ensure a round 1 start in the fans' eyes at least. The only thing going against him is how fruitful we are in that small forward role. Tippin Woody, Menzie, Guelphy, Snelling, there is a lot of competition there, but I think he plays against the Hawks. He is such a good mover and applies that forward pressure we have been seeking. Even if he does miss out against the Hawks, he will play in the first few rounds. He is right on the verge of a debut, the most likely starter here by a long way. And on to Alan's twin brother Jayden, who unfortunately is not going to appear at any stage this year. He has been ruled out for the entire season. There is no chance we see him. He of course did his ACL last year during his draft campaign, a horrid time to do it really, and he's been developing his strength and rehabilitation on the track since. Us fans haven't really seen enough of him play to get a gauge of what he is like, but he's actually a pure small forward, unlike his brother who played midfield minutes as a junior, so it would be a great year for the young son of Froggy if he was fit. Unfortunately, as we know, he is not, and he will not be until next season. Next is Rhett Montgomerie, a mature age recruit, a bit older than the rest here. He is actually 22, so he is more mature. He has a bit more muscle than the other kids here, which makes him more likely to play sooner. He's another key back, and he's impressed to say the least. He actually played against Gold Coast in the practice match, something most players actually didn't even do, and he was of our better performers in the intra-club trial game. He looks decent, he looks solid. He wouldn't force himself into a match day squad, but he could well replace an injured teammate. He reminds me a bit of James Blank from Hawthorn. He doesn't set the world alike, but even though he is so fresh, if needed, he can lock down a third or maybe even second forward. And finally, we end with a really exciting prospect, Anthony Munkara, who is another I don't expect to see this season, but will eagerly be watching his VFL performances. He is one of the most naturally raw and talented draftees to come along to the club since Irving Mosquito, which obviously didn't work out as us fans thought it would. He is so raw though, he is clearly talented, but doesn't have the footy IQ, the footy brain, or footy body required at AFL level. It will take a long time. I think we will see him play a lot of VFL footy, but because he is so underdone, I think a lot of it will be underwhelming. But all I am looking for are those highlight reel moments pinned closely together as he builds consistency. I am really excited about this kid, but it will be a long road, so be patient. And that is that. Those are the 8 hopefully soon to be debutants. Let me know down below who you are most excited to see played this year, and of course, like the video and subscribe to see more content content like this.